ready for more, ready for more. Fire fall, wind come blow. We're ready for more, ready for more. Break down the walls, push back the doors. We're ready for more, ready for more. Fire fall, wind come blow. We're ready for more, ready for more. Break down the walls, push back the doors. We're ready for more. Prepare the way, He's coming through. Ready or not, our God's on the move. We're gonna see heaven on earth. Come, Holy Spirit, awaken your church. We've heard the revival story of ancient and old-time glory. Spirit of God, come do it again.
And thank you, Art. Thank you all for participating in what I find moves me deeply to open to that true power of Spirit. And why we're here, right? To be open to the power of Spirit, to allow our lives to be transformed. And it begins not only with allowing, but our participating in the transformation that is in our midst right now. One of the greatest teachings in unity and in the New Thought movement is based upon the scripture in Romans 2 that says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove that is good and acceptable and perfect the will of God." See, when we open to that divine renewal, what happens, we unify with that one Spirit of truth. By whatever name or knowing and way that we perceive, we open to the realization that there is something greater happening, and we begin to see anew that which is happening within us. You know, being transformed by the renewing of our mind. By the renewing of our mind. Why do we want that? Does anybody have parts of your mind that you want renewed? Maybe aren't as safe a place in there as you'd like it to be, right? That maybe are not as aligned to a higher truth. Anybody have any negative self-talk that comes along? Judgment about the world or others, right? There are places in us, unforgiveness. We have places of unforgiveness, places where we're holding old patterns and inherited beliefs. You know, in many, many ways, there is that which in unity calls us to a higher realization to participate fully in the renewing of what we believe in ourselves, in the world, what we believe is the potential, what we believe is possible. And in this, that we have this option. Oh, I wrote something and then I didn't take it off the printer. So, all right, well, it's over on the, I didn't write it, but I was getting it off of Keep a True Lent. Hey, Carolyn, will you look for that for me? Okay, good, she's gonna go get that. Carolyn's doing it and Carol's doing it both. So, hey, it's a Carol thing. Thank you all. But what we're really about in this process is opening to the power that Spirit has for us to transform us. Because how many of you have felt like you've fought your mind your whole life? You've been fighting your mind, and you make headway. You change your mind, you shift the way you think, and yet there's still some persistent thoughts. There's still ways that get to you every now and then. A way of thinking, or an old pattern, or a belief, or a fear, or a doubt that sneaks in, you know, on the side. And that happens. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you, because I really did want to share this. This is from Charles Fillmore's Keep a True Lent. And it includes one of my favorite all-time quotes of his. And when we're in this process of aligning to a higher light, we have to turn to something greater and know that there is something greater working in us, through us, as us. And when we open to that, it has its way in us that will truly move mountains. And we can't be the one that makes it happen. We've spent a lot of our lives living out the Horatio Alger story that we were taught was up to us to pull ourselves up from the bootstraps, go make it happen, go, fix the world, right? But what we teach in Unity is we don't need to fix the world, we need to see it rightly. We need to see according to the eyes of the divine. And that is something that we create the fertile field within our own selves. We create the place where there's a receptivity. Because what happens is that I will say my experience with most everybody I've known along my way, which is a lot of people from a lot of different places, is we learn to be willful. And I don't want to call that a bad thing. I'm going to acknowledge it's a part of the journey. We are going to will things into existence, and we learn to focus our mind, and we learn to overcome and to rise through circumstances. And we use our will to do that. But then there's a place where that's just buttoned up against a wall. You bang in that wall, and it seems like your head's getting sore. Anybody have been in that place? It's like, I'm tired of beating myself up for this. I'm tired of beating up feeling bad over what's happening out here. How do I transform my way of being, my thinking, my understanding in such a way that I am awakened to a new realization? So what is shared in Keep a True Lent is that I love this. Is one of the quotes here I put into my own credo statement when I went through ministerial school, and it still is applicable for me today. But I want to give you a little bit more of context for it. Charles Fillmore was very deep, and he did a lot of deep meditation that opened him to the power of spirit, and then he began to write the things that were coming through for him. As a co-founder of Unity, he brought forth this whole unity consciousness understanding from a Christian context. And he brought it into a place where instead of worshiping Jesus, the man, we began to live according to the teachings of the Christ consciousness. And to begin to understand that that is what is alive in each and every one of us. And there is a power in that will transform and renew our minds, renew our being in a new way. He says in here, you cannot have consciousness without thinking. It is the nature of mind to think. So your every thought, no matter how trivial, causes vibrations in the universal ether that ultimately forms in the visibility. You know that the working power of mind is thought, and that through thought, all the conditions that seem to encompass you were formed. But he goes on to say, the same Holy Spirit that glorified Jesus and through which he overcame the world is now right here with us. It is here awaiting our recognition. It will cleanse our mind of all beliefs of heredity if we acknowledge its presence and power. So bathe yourself in this boundless ocean of wisdom, love, and light by holding a few moments in the silence with the thought, Spirit sets me free. Spirit heals me. You have been deceived into believing that you have certain traits of character to which you are bound by nature. Anybody say, how many of you have had times you said, oh, well, that's just the way I am. Oh, that's the way our family is. Oh, I inherited that from my mother, my father, Okay, you have it. And through them, we are confined or hampered by life. You may suppose, for instance, that you are naturally timid and fearful, or therefore nervous and unfitted to face the world, or that you are cold and unsympathetic, or that you lack language or expression for your ideas, or that your memory is poor, or that you lack perfection in some other way. You think about it for yourself. Where do you condemn yourself? Into an old way of thinking, in an old way of believing about yourself, in an old way that maybe was passed down from your family traditions. I know that doesn't happen in here at all, We don't buy into those old stories, right? Well, he goes on to say, now these illusions crumble into nothingness, and your clear consciousness recognizes its own. When you turn, he's talking about when you turn to the Christ light. At the center, this is my favorite quote, at the center of the mind of every man or woman is the light, the white light of spirit. Fan to a flame this white light at the center of your being by proclaiming your identity as Christ, with Christ. The salvation of the world rests with those who join him or join in the Christ consciousness and thereby bring peace and goodwill to all. When the light of Christ comes to anyone, it does not confine its rays to his or her consciousness alone, but those who sit in darkness and negation see and feel the power. So when we are in this be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind, we first of all are learning to open to that Christ light, to connect and to experience ourselves as one with that Christ consciousness that we are, to fan to a flame that light that is so bright that it burns away the dross of all old beliefs and patterns, any unbelief. This is our awakening. This is our opening to the illumination and the revelation that is available to us in our own being. And when we do that, we open up to the light of our own being. We're no longer looking for a light out here, where it is within us, that is moving us forward, that is opening us to a greater awareness. So there's a great biblical story I want to talk about that is such a great demonstration of this, and it's one you've all heard. It's Saul. Do you remember Saul was somebody in the ancient days? Go back a minute. Well, okay, we'll leave it there. Go ahead, you already got it. I'm changing my, anybody feel that way? I'm changing my life begrudgingly. All right, I couldn't help it when I saw that. It made me laugh. But Saul wasn't really open to changing his life. He was the one that was out and believed that the whole Jesus movement that was happening at the time when Jesus was alive was like a false teaching, and he had the right knowledge and he knew what was true, and he was out trying to persecute Jesus, and he was chasing down Jesus in the midst of this and those that believed in Jesus. And Jesus had already passed, and he'd already been crucified and resurrected, and Saul's, but he's determined this is all wrong. You guys have got it all wrong. Do you have any part of you that condemns other aspects of yourself? Maybe condemns the part of you that wants to be positive in the midst of a negative circumstance? Maybe doesn't fully grasp the new realization of what is possible, has limited beliefs, has even unconscious ideas that would keep you in bondage to who you have been rather than who you are meant to be. Because we get stuck in the paradigm that we have known, and we start to define ourselves in a given moment, and then we get rigid in those beliefs. This is what the mind does. It's not who we are, but it's what the mind will do and why we are going to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So Saul is on the road to Damascus, and he's following in the footsteps, and he suddenly, in that process, now he represents, before I finish that, the ego-driven, rigid belief, the persecution, which is really where we're resisting the spiritual aha. You know, sometimes it's not easy to accept the spiritual aha, to open to what spirit knows at another level when we haven't seen proof for it yet, especially, right? In the midst of things, we don't know what's true. And we are like, yeah, you're telling me this is true, it's spirit, and I'm not ready to go there, so no. You know, we actually put a no out to the universe a lot of times. So Charles Fillmore taught that man is the power of God in action, but his thought must be renewed and purified before the divine plan can manifest. So we go from this willfulness that is meant, I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. I see through the lens of separation in that. It's up to me because I'm separate and I have to go do it for myself. Anybody had those moments? Damn, I have to do it all myself, you know. Why is it hard? You know, gosh, sometimes it feels like I slug along. I go an inch forward and 2 inches back. All right, we have those moments in our journey. And so a part of what happened and what happened to Saul in that moment is what we're calling the interrupting light. The light came flooding through, and all of a sudden he can't see. He's blinded by the light. The light was so big, so huge. And he actually hears the voice. This is the light of Christ, comes and awakens us when we least expect it, when we are our most resistant. Maybe when we're going through a situation and we're feeling like life is set in a certain way, we get a financial challenge. Maybe in that moment, a health challenge arises that we didn't expect. Spirit has a way of coming through and beginning to move in us and create a situation, an interruption to our patterned life. And that willfulness suddenly can't move in the face of that light. He is on the ground and he is blinded by the light. We get blinded by the light. We don't necessarily call it light in that moment. We think it's a disruption. We think it's something horrible happening, right? And yet it is the light of our soul that is moving us. Now, in that process, we are opening up to release and let go of the places where we've been rigid. Because in the face of something new, something profound, everything changes. Our thoughts, our assumptions, our beliefs about life, our beliefs about ourselves. What comes up is all the stuff that maybe isn't true. And we get to decide again. We get to renew our mind with a new faith, with a new realization of what's possible. What if this whole health situation is for me to prove healing in my world? For me to prove to myself that the divine in me is greater than any of the circumstances of my life? What if the circumstance and situation that showed up that challenged my belief about family is here for me to come to the realization of my own place in the world, my sense of belonging within myself? In such a strong and powerful way, my oneness with God, my oneness with my Christ self, that I feel alive and connected in every moment. What if, in every circumstance that you bring up, that it is the light that is interrupting you, that you are being guided by the light to pause? Now, we know in neuroplasticity in science nowadays that we can create new neural pathways in the brain. That when we change the way we're perceiving, we open up to something new, it literally shifts the way our brain operates. And where that pathway is blocked or whatever is going on that doesn't seem like it's still working for us, something new will open up. Much like our heart arteries and things. Like many times people, when their arteries are not functioning appropriately, then other pathways begin to open and move blood flow in their body. That happened to my mom. And I've watched this in oneness when we work on doing blessings. The whole point of that is to open people to new neural pathways. Because what happens is our mind gets renewed because we can't just rely on what we knew. What we knew isn't working for us anymore. The light is interrupting the pattern. Because as we let go of that pattern, we are made new and open to a different possibility. All possibilities exist at every moment. So if that is the case, then we look again at Paul's story and how does it teach us how our consciousness works? So our consciousness is going to bring us the light of Christ. Oh, I'm dropping part of my microphone. That's all right. Is that the light of Christ in that process. And in that, then, we are literally blinded. He is blinded. We are confused in the midst of a big change or challenge that shows up in our lives. We stop and we're like, whoa, I didn't expect this. What does this mean? How does this affect my life? What does it mean? Who am I in the midst of this? And we go through those 3 days of blindness that Saul went through. It's like we have to stop and listen deeply. And we can't always see and listen at the same time, right? If we're seeing what we think we already know, and don't tell me you don't do that, we think we already know something, and when we see according to what we think we know, then we are in the way of the divine movement in us that is expanding the light in us and opening us to a new realization, to a transformation of the mind. See, this is the gestation place between our releasing what has been and our opening to what wants to come through. That's the 3 days of blindness. So he goes into blindness when the light is so strong, we're blinded and don't know which way do I turn, which way do I go. But what happens is he's guided then to go find this man, Ananias. Now, Ananias represents a divine love and a grace, a kind of flowing of energy that is holding compassion and pure love. See, in the world, we will be guided back to the place of love. Because as we renew our minds, what happens is it begins to open our heart. We begin to find that place where love abides, where there is a shared journey of this Christ consciousness and it moves through us. And as we do that, we may mourn the old question and the way we've been for a while, that's the blindness. You know, our old assumptions that we kind of like standing and rallying against others about, and then we suddenly are open to this grace, this healing presence, this opportunity to find that healing in our own soul. And something happens in that transition when love has its way in us. When love opens our hearts, our souls, then all of a sudden there is a healing and harmonizing that happens. And we become willing. We become willing to transform our mind, to see something new, to open to the possibility that something that is informing us through the eyes of the Christ, through the wisdom of the divine that is within us. Something that knows more than we think we know. I had a situation, this is just coming to me right now, that years ago when I was in Mesa, Arizona, of a woman that literally, you can't make this up, 3 years in a row, she lost a child. Now, they were in their 20s, but I don't care what age they are, anytime a mother loses a child, it is a devastating thing. It is devastating. And I did all 3 of those memorial services. And I was, the first time where, a lot of course, sympathy and empathy and working with her with great compassion. And then the next year, here comes the second. And we look at what do we do? How do we hold the space in a big enough way to accommodate that kind of grief and to allow her to feel love in the midst of that. And the next year she comes. And she's lost her 3rd child. They were different reasons, each one. Different reasons, each one. And she came to me and she said, Kyra, it's unimaginable. And yet there's something in me that knew when I birthed these children, I wouldn't have them for long. I didn't want to ever admit that truth, that I knew it inside of me. And there's something here at play with my opening up to something bigger. In that, she began to recognize she was in deep grief. Of course, she hadn't even finished mourning one, and the next one, and the next one. And yet, at the time, what happened, she started to look at it from a different perspective. She started to open to, there has to be something bigger here. I cannot become bitter. It's not who I am. I'm not meant to become bitter in the midst of this. I'm meant to know I had the gift of this love for this amount of time. And there's something for me to learn and be able to share with the world by going through this experience. And I said, you are one powerful, magnificent being. And knowing the truth of this is one of the biggest things that I've experienced. In that moment, I was stunned at listening to her and opening. Now, did she grieve? Did she mourn? Did she wail? Of course. Of course. Anyone would. And yet, inside of her, she started to listen to something greater that was reminding her of a bigger truth. That she had a purpose in this world that was bigger than and it's hard to imagine that it's bigger than being a mother, right? That is bigger than raising your children and seeing them succeed in life. But for her, she knew there was something more. In that process, she had one more child who did survive. And so that was an important piece. But in the process, you all can go, whoa, that's huge. I'm not saying that this is what we have to go through to become willing. But she became willing in that moment. And when we open to the light that wants to communicate with us, that wants to open us to greater possibility, to greater truth, to feel the power of the Christ, renewing our mind so we see the world, we see the circumstances of our lives anew. We see it differently than in the midst of that grief. I was surprised that she could get there in that moment. Sometimes people get there at a later point, but she was able to go there at that moment and start to know something bigger was at play. And she became willing, like Saul became willing. When Saul became willing, he changed his name to Paul. And Paul represented, this energy of the divine, right? He became, the scales fell from his eyes. He was able to see with spirit. He no longer had the limitations. He recognized truth and began to live with it. This is another of my favorite scriptures. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, or the divine essence, love itself, are being transformed into his image with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. And there's another piece that talks about, at some point we all come to see with unveiled faces one another as the truth of who we are. And as we begin to open to those eyes of Christ, to the Saul to Paul experience in ourselves, we renew our minds. We begin to open our hearts. We feel the power of that divine presence moving through us. We start to feel our unity connection with everything, and our name changes. Our very understanding of ourselves, of our name. We take on a new nature. A new name represents a new nature. When Jesus of Nazareth became Jesus Christ, he was taking on the nature of the Christ consciousness. And we become willing to be aligned with the divine mind, which will communicate with us in ways we never even knew were possible. Openings happening, spirit moves, action happens. There is an aha awareness, and we see everyone and everything from our oneness, from our unity, from our acknowledgement of the divine grace that is in the midst of every circumstance. And so as we do that, we become the mind of Christ. I want to invite you this week to become the mind of Christ, to open like you never have before, to become willing beyond what you've known yourself willing, to say, help me see where I have resistance, blockage, false beliefs. Let me acknowledge and see those, or just release them. Maybe I don't need to see them all, but if you need to see them, let yourself see them. Let me understand so that I can be set free to be alive in the light of Christ. When you do that, you will transform your mind. And your mind will see, oh, I saw it this way, but there's more to the picture. Have you ever had that happen? You got a particular idea about something, and then you realize you were missing part of the information. I think gossip works like that. Somebody told me today they heard a rumor that I was retiring. I said, oh, really? That's fascinating. I think I talked about wanting to create a legacy and sustainability. I don't know that I said anything about retirement, but we hear what we want to hear, and things get presented. So I invite you, question everything. Open to the wonder of spirit, and don't believe everything you hear. And open to the true Christ spirit that is alive. It's not saying someday I will retire, but not now. I'm not going anywhere. So, all right, unless the divine has a different idea. But right now, that is not in the plan. So when we open and begin to renew our mind, we allow ourselves to be alive with spirit, and we listen within. We let ourselves take in the light and let it transform us from the inside out. And as we do that, then we are truly transformed into a being that lives a life that flows moment by moment by moment. that in that flow of abundant good, of the grace that comes to us, we recognize, even in the moment we're blinded, that there is good on its way. We are being guided to greater good, to greater love. Let love move through you and transform your mind, your vision, your awareness. And that, to me, is the path that we are all on right now. God bless you, friends. Have a great week. But don't put that slide up yet, please. Thank you, Ronnie, I didn't tell you to hold there. Is that I have a couple of things that before I'm inviting Don and Katie to come on up, and while they're on the way to talk with you about where we are with our campaign and what's happening, that I will be gone next week. Next weekend, it's my Sunday off, and Robert York Westbrook will be here. Robert York Westbrook, some of you knew him when he went by Robert Hudspeth, and Robert has been around a long time in our Unity teachings, but he is running the Bio-Vibrational Science Institute, where I got to go and do the ordination of their keynote for their ordination and their graduation, and he is amazing energy, and he has a wonderful message. He's bringing about 15 people with him, so come and help make them feel welcome next week. They're going to be doing a special singing bowl meditation and all kinds of good things, so I hope you'll welcome him well and help him feel the love that is the truth of this ministry as he arrives and brings his crew here to be with us. So thank you for that. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dawn and Katie for some exciting announcements.
Oh my God, I've just been, can't wait to tell you this. Okay, well, get ready, folks. In less than a week, our Unity family has already pledged $14,000 of our $30,000 goal towards paying off our mortgage. Yes, okay, so we're deeply grateful for the incredible generosity flowing through this community, and already we've received these pledges. We've had 2 Blaze of Glory gifts. Those are $5,000 each. Don's going to hold this up. Yes, we've had 2 Fan the Flames gifts, which are $1,500 and $1,000 each. We've had 3 Ignite the Fire gifts. Those are $500 each. And just this morning, we received a $10,000 check, bringing us to $24,000. So Sarah is adjusting our goal monitor up there. So come on, Don. Don's going to tell you some more.
Oh my gosh. Isn't this exciting? Because every offering is a spark of spirit in action, reminding us that abundance is ever present when we say yes to divine ideas. And we did that, didn't we? I just want to remind y'all that all the Burn the Mortgage donations are applied directly to the mortgage principal. And so if you're giving by check, please write Burn the Mortgage in the memo line on your check. If you're donating online or in the bookstore, you can do either, kindly select the Burn the Mortgage option so we can ensure your gift is applied correctly. And as we continue this wondrous journey, and what an amazing week, right? We lovingly invite you to also remember the power of your regular tithes. While we celebrate this bold step toward freedom from debt, we also hold sacred the need to keep our ministry thriving day to day. With cool air flowing, you feeling it? Yeah. The lights on, and our beloved staff supported in doing their holy work.
So as Don said before, every offering is a spark of spirit in action. So I know not everybody can give a $10,000 gift, but $10, $100, $50, whatever you can give towards Burn the Mortgage, we lovingly accept your gift. This is our church. Don't you want to be part of that? So with our hearts open and faith strong, we're going to affirm together, let's affirm this together, the mortgage is paid.
The mortgage is paid.
Our needs are met.
Our needs are met.
And our blessings overflow.
And our blessings overflow.
So let's keep fanning the flame together until the vision is complete, and we're almost to our goal. And I think we can do that today, right? So that doesn't mean you have to pay today, but you can pledge today. So put your hand up if you want to pledge something today. You can do it. Anybody else ready? Okay. This just means you're ready to pledge something, not that you have to pay. We do have time before you can do that, but do find it in your heart to commit to making some kind of a pledge. Again, any gift is greatly appreciated. Get fired up.
They can give them to any one of us.
Yes, you can give your pledge card to Kyra, me, or Dawn. And again, it's just a pledge for today, but that step puts it into action and puts it into reality. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Unity Bay Area, Houston. Yes, thanks, Sarah.
Look at that.
And we want to say that if you have not been a part of this, this is about us paying down $30,000 on the mortgage to get an interest-free loan to pay the additional $146,000. Any additional, as we go forward on the burn the mortgage, will go towards the principal and again, but having a zero interest loan will save us up to $240,000. So what an incredible gift and offering that we have the opportunity to have. And I just want to say thank you that, you know, that this ministry moves mountains in ways that we show up and serve. And all of those online watching that are a part of this as well, know that your hearts and souls are what's made this happen. So I have a vision of us hitting that 30,000 today, all right? So if you're one of those that want to help with that, let's make that happen. And in the meantime, let's know in our hearts that we're all part of a thriving, excited community that is making a difference by who we are individually and collectively in the world. And there's no greater thing to recognize the power of our combined consciousness. That when we decide to make things happen, because the divine is us at work, we've aligned ourselves to the will of the divine, things begin to move with ease and grace. And that is what is occurring at this time. And so we say thank you to each one of you that have given your gifts. And now we take time for our regular offering because we, as they said, we do want to keep the doors open and on a regular basis as well. So we're grateful for every gift and every giver that allows us to do that as well. And there are many ways that you can give, and we thank you for all the ways that you give. Those of you that are here with us, those that are online, those that are online in the future, or that mail in checks and send money through e-giving. There's lots of different ways. So let's take our gifts to our heart and share together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And I do want to say, if you need a brochure for the mortgage campaign, they're on the table in the back. Thank you.
I am changing. I'm trying every way I can. I am changing. I'll be better than I am. I'm trying to find a way to understand. But I need a hand. I am changing, seeing everything so clear. I am changing. I'm gonna start right now, right here. I'm hoping to work it out, and I know that I can. But I need a hand. All my life I've been a fool, think I can do it on my own. How many good friends have I lost? How many dark nights have I known? Walking down the wrong road, there was nothing I could find. All those years of darkness could make a person blind. I am changing, trying every way I can. I'm changing, I'll be better than I am. But I need a friend to help me start over again. That would be just fine, 'cause I know I'm gonna work out this time. 'Cause this time I am changing. I'll get my life together now. I'm changing, yes, and I know how. I'm gonna start again, gonna leave my past behind. I'll change my life, I'll make a vow, and nothing is gonna stop me now.
We are changing. We're opening to the true transformation of spirit, being alive and well in each one of us, and we're so grateful. So let us take these prayers. I am just overcome with gratitude today, so forgive me, but I can't quit crying. And it's okay, it's good tears. Tears of love and appreciation. And so together, let's take and affirm together, we celebrate divine abundance. We gratefully live, breathe, and experience abundance and generosity. Thank you, God, for the flow of resources through our ministry to bless the world. We rejoice as all our prayers are answered. We are grateful, blessed, and prosperous. Yes, we are. Do you feel that? We say that every week, but do we feel it? This gives us the opportunity to recognize and feel the power of Spirit in our lives, and to recognize, don't ever shortchange what Spirit can do in your life. Open to the light and let the light lead the way. God bless you, friends. Today is August Babies celebration, though. We need all of our August babies to rise, and let's sing together.
Sarah, you're born in August? It's August. It's Leo and Virgo Fest. From the top. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, August babies. Happy birthday to you. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you now. God is blessing you. We are wonderful. God is blessing you now.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for sharing us on the social media of your choice. Let people know about the message Unity shares and how it can transform their lives. People are hungry for that right now. We do have invitations in the back as well for celebrating our season of milestones. So we are having a party. This is our 30-year anniversary that we just had Wednesday of the ministry. Thank you, God, for this ministry for 30 years. And on November 5th is our 20-year anniversary of being in this property. Wow. And so we are having a party, folks. And this is going to be, we've got slideshow presentations. We've got speakers that are going to share from the different eras of our ministry. We've got dancing and music with the Keith Vivens Band. We are going to make it a potluck. classy casual. It's going to be about fun, about celebration of all that has brought us to where we are today and all that continues to move us forward. So come and join us. Bring friends and family. It is going to be at the 5:30. You can bring your food in for the potluck. 6 o'clock we'll start the potluck, and then the dancing, music, and all the celebrations and presentations we're working on. I've been going through thousands of slides from this ministry, and it's a beautiful thing to look at and recognize and give thanks for all those that have been a part of this. So we're going to have a great time. So we hope you'll come out and join us that night. It won't be a fundraiser. I know we've done lots of fundraisers as parties, but this one's about celebrating all that has been and all that carries us forward and having a great time together as community. So let's rise and share in our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Let's join together for our peace song.